fighting in the brutal, disease-ridden jungles of the Pacific Theater required an entirely different loadout than the war in Europe. Today we are cataloguing the exact verified lethal arsenal and survival equipment actually carried by the United States Marine Corps during their bloody island-hopping campaigns. Uniform and headgear. Kicking off our list, we have the United States Marine M1 steel helmet. This was the universal protective headgear issued to American forces, replacing the outdated flat-brimmed helmets of the First World War. It consisted of a heavy outer steel shell paired with a lightweight, removable fiberglass inner liner. The helmet weighed roughly 3 pounds and provided critical protection against flying shrapnel and artillery debris. While it could not stop a direct rifle bullet, it saved countless lives during fierce beach landings. Marines often use the heavy steel shell as an improvised wash basin or a shovel when digging fighting holes. Next we have the United States Marine frogskin camouflage helmet cover. Because the solid olive drab helmet stood out aggressively against the dense jungle foliage, the Marine Corps adopted this specialized cloth cover. It featured a reversible design with a green dominant jungle pattern on one side and a brown dominant beach pattern on the other. It was secured to the steel helmet by tucking the edges directly between the heavy shell and the inner liner. The cover included small foliage slits, allowing Marines to insert local branches and leaves to break up their human silhouette. This highly distinct camouflage pattern became the visual trademark of the American Marine in the Pacific Theater. Let us continue with the United States Marine Pattern 1941 herringbone twill utility coat. Unlike the heavy wool uniforms worn in Europe, Marines required lightweight, breathable clothing to survive the sweltering tropical heat. This rugged cotton twill fabric was specifically chosen because it could withstand the abrasive, tearing vines of the Pacific jungles. The coat featured 3 large open-patch pockets, which were highly useful but often snagged on dense underbrush during combat patrols. Across the left breast pocket, the iconic eagle, globe and anchor emblem was proudly stamped in black ink. Because the heat was so oppressive, Marines frequently unbuttoned these coats entirely or discarded them to fight bare-chested. Moving right along, we examine the United States Marine Pattern 1941 herringbone twill utility trousers. These trousers were constructed from the exact same durable cotton material as the matching utility coat. They featured a simple, baggy design that allowed for excellent air circulation to help prevent severe heat rash and fungal infections. The trousers were equipped with deep front and rear pockets, providing ample storage for personal items and extra ammunition. Because the jungle environment rotted fabric at an astonishing rate, these trousers rarely lasted more than a few weeks in heavy combat. Marines often had to scavenge replacement trousers from fallen comrades or adapt captured enemy clothing to survive. Next on our breakdown is the United States Marine M1923 canvas leggings. These heavy canvas wraps were laced tightly around the soldiers' calves, bridging the gap between the boots and the trousers. They were designed to protect the lower legs from venomous snake bites, sharp coral rocks, and disease-carrying leeches. The leggings also prevented heavy mud and debris from falling directly into the Marines' boots during amphibious beach assaults. While highly practical, they were incredibly tedious to lace up and trapped massive amounts of heat against the skin. Many veteran Marines eventually discarded them completely, preferring the slight cooling relief over the intended physical protection. Let us look at the United States Marine N1 field shoes, universally known as boondockers. These ankle-high combat boots were constructed from heavy, rough-out suede leather that was specifically designed to be worn without polish. The soles were made from a specialized raw corded rubber that provided excellent traction on slippery ship decks and wet jungle mud. Because the tropical moisture constantly saturated the leather, the boots were highly prone to rotting and falling apart during extended campaigns. Marines frequently suffered from severe trench foot and jungle rot because these boots offered absolutely no waterproofing capabilities. Despite their flaws, the boondockers remained the standard issue footwear for the Marine Corps throughout the entire Pacific War. Web gear and equipment. Transitioning into web gear, we have the United States Marine M1941 canvas field suspenders. These rugged canvas straps were absolutely essential for distributing the crushing weight of a fully loaded combat belt. They connected directly to the cartridge belt, lifting the heavy burden of ammunition and water straight off the soldier's hips. The unique Marine Corps design featured crossing straps in the back, creating a highly stable harness system for rigorous movement. Without these suspenders, the sheer weight of brass rifle ammunition would have constantly pulled a Marine's trousers down in combat. They formed the critical load-bearing foundation for every single piece of gear carried onto the Pacific Islands. Next, we examine the United States Marine M1941 upper haversack. Instead of a single massive backpack, the Marine Corps cleverly divided their primary carrying bag into two modular sections. This upper section attached directly to the field suspenders and sat high on the back to keep it out of deep water. It was designed to carry the Marines' daily combat necessities, including rations, extra socks, and a waterproof poncho. A specialized outer flap allowed soldiers to securely strap a bayonet or entrenching tool directly to the back of the pack. This modular design allowed Marines to drop their heavy lower knapsacks before an assault while retaining their critical survival gear. Let us continue with the United States Marine M1941 lower knapsack. This was the second half of the modular backpack system, designed to attach directly beneath the upper haversack. It was primarily utilized to carry extra clothing, spare shoes, and heavy personal items that were not immediately needed in a firefight. Because amphibious assaults required Marines to be as light and fast as possible, this lower pack was rarely worn into actual combat. Instead, it was typically left entirely on the transport ships or dumped on the beachhead to be recovered after the fighting stopped. The ability to quickly detach this heavy dead weight made the Marine Corps pack system vastly superior to the standard Army haversack. Moving right along, we have the United States Marine M1923 cartridge belt. This heavy canvas belt was the primary ammunition carrying system for every Marine armed with the standard M1 Garand rifle. It featured 10 distinct pockets secured by durable brass fasteners to prevent corrosion in the salty ocean air. Each individual pocket was perfectly sized to hold a single 8-round en-bloc clip, giving the Marine a total of 80 ready rounds. The belts also featured integrated brass eyelets along the bottom edge, allowing troops to clip on canteens, first aid pouches, and heavy knives. It was a masterpiece of military tailoring that kept heavy ammunition securely fastened to the body during violent combat maneuvers. Next on our list is the highly distinct United States Marine cross-flap canteen cover. Unlike the standard Army cover, which featured two vertical snaps, the Marine Corps designed a unique cover with two intersecting canvas flaps. This specialized design held the aluminum canteen much more securely, preventing it from accidentally slipping out while crawling through dense jungle underbrush. The cover was heavily lined with felt insulation, which could be soaked in water to cool the canteen through natural evaporation. Because dehydration was arguably as deadly as enemy gunfire in the Pacific, protecting the water supply was a massive priority. This specific cross-flap design is one of the easiest ways historians identify Marine Corps gear in historical photographs. Let us examine the United States Marine M1910 aluminum canteen and cup. Clean drinking water was incredibly scarce on the volcanic islands of the Pacific, making this item an absolute lifeline. The seamless aluminum canteen held exactly 1 quart of water and featured a chained cap so it could never be lost in the mud. Nested perfectly beneath the canteen was a heavy aluminum cup featuring a folding steel handle. Marines used this cup to boil contaminated river water, brew instant coffee, or heat up their miserable combat rations over a fire. Because the tropical heat caused severe sweating, Marines frequently carried 2 or 3 of these canteens into battle just to survive. Continuing with survival gear, we have the United States Marine M1942 Jungle First Aid Kit. Recognizing the severe medical threats of the Pacific, the military developed this specialized roll-up canvas pouch for tropical warfare. It was significantly larger than the standard European first aid pouch and contained a massive array of life-saving medical supplies. Inside, a Marine carried heavy field dressings, iodine swabs for water purification, salt tablets for dehydration, and critical anti-malaria medication. Because tropical infections could kill a wounded man in mere hours, immediate battlefield sanitization was absolutely mandatory. This comprehensive kit was typically clipped tightly to the rear of the cartridge belt for rapid, one-handed access. Next we have the United States Marine M1943 folding entrenching tool. Surviving massive Japanese artillery barrages required Marines to dig deep fighting holes as rapidly as humanly possible. This highly engineered tool replaced older fixed-blade shovels with a compact, folding steel blade that locked firmly into place. The heavy steel blade could be locked straight out for digging, or locked at a right angle to act as a devastating pickaxe in coral rock. It was carried in a canvas cover on the wed belt, ensuring the Marine always had a shovel immediately on hand. In desperate, brutal night fighting, the sharpened edges of this shovel were frequently used as a lethal melee weapon. Weapons and bladed tools. Transitioning to weaponry, we start with the United States Marine M1 Garand 30 caliber rifle. This semi-automatic masterpiece was the primary infantry weapon of the Marine Corps, providing a massive tactical advantage over bolt-action enemy rifles. It fired a devastating 30-06 cartridge from an 8-round clip that automatically ejected with a loud, distinctive ping when empty. The weapon was incredibly robust, functioning flawlessly even after being dragged through the abrasive black volcanic ash of Iwo Jima. Its heavy wooden stock and superior range made it perfect for both long-distance engagements and brutal close-quarters jungle ambushes. General George Patton famously declared it to be the greatest battle implement ever devised by man, and the Marines fully agreed. Next up is the legendary United States Marine M1A1 Thompson submachine gun. In the incredibly dense, dark jungles of the Pacific, combat frequently occurred at ranges of less than 20 yards. The Thompson was chambered in the massive 45 caliber pistol cartridge, delivering unparalleled, immediate knockdown power in these terrifying point-blank encounters. The heavy cyclic rate of fire allowed Marine squad leaders to literally soar through thick jungle foliage to destroy hidden enemy ambush positions. It fed from reliable 20 or 30 round stick magazines, as the older drum magazines were prone to jamming in the mud. Despite weighing over 10 pounds, its brutal effectiveness made it one of the most highly prized weapons in the entire theater. Let us continue with the United States Marine M1911, a 145 caliber semi-automatic pistol. This iconic handgun was the standard secondary weapon for officers, medics, and heavy machine gun crews throughout the Marine divisions. It operated on a highly reliable short-roll system and utilized a 7-round detachable box magazine inserted securely into the grip. The massive 45 caliber slug was specifically designed to neutralize a charging enemy threat with a single, devastating close-range shot. Marines typically carried this weapon in a leather hip holster that was completely prone to rotting in the extreme tropical humidity. It served as the ultimate last line of defense during the chaotic, terrifying nighttime banzai charges launched by Japanese forces. Moving right along, we examine the United States Marine Mark II combat knife, universally known as the Ka-bar. This is arguably the most famous military knife in global history and remains a legendary symbol of the Marine Corps. It featured a brutal 7-inch clip-point steel blade with a blood groove designed for both lethal combat and heavy camp chores. The handle was constructed from deeply grooved, stacked leather washers to ensure a non-slip grip, even when covered in mud or blood. Marines used this heavy blade to hack through dense jungle vines, open ration cans, and engage in terrifying hand-to-hand trench combat. It was typically carried in a riveted leather scabbard strapped directly to the cartridge belt or laced tightly onto a canvas legging. Next on our list is the United States Marine M1905 E1 rifle bayonet. Because Japanese military doctrine heavily emphasized brutal melee combat, every single Marine rifleman was required to carry a bayonet. This specific model featured a heavy 10-inch steel blade and attached directly to the muzzle lug of the M1 Garand rifle. It essentially transformed the heavy 9-pound rifle into a devastating long-reaching spear for close-quarters bunker clearing. The bayonet was housed in a tough fiberglass scabbard that resisted the rotting effects of the jungle much better than traditional leather. In the vicious primeval combat of the Pacific, running out of ammunition meant this blade was the only thing keeping a Marine alive. Let us look at a highly specialized tool, the United States Marine M1917 bolo knife. Before the widespread adoption of the K-bar, the Marine Corps issued this massive, heavy-bladed machete to clear paths through the jungle. The blade was heavily weighted toward the tip, allowing a Marine to generate massive chopping power with a single, short swing. It was originally designed during the First World War, but proved to be absolutely essential for surviving the dense vegetation of Guadalcanal. The heavy blade was also highly effective for chopping down small trees to quickly construct overhead cover for fighting holes. While primarily a brush-clearing tool, its sheer weight made it a horrifyingly effective weapon in sudden, close-quarters ambushes. Ordnance and explosives. Transitioning to explosives, we have the United States Marine Mark II fragmentation hand grenade. Universally recognized as the pineapple grenade due to its deeply grooved cast-iron body, it was heavily utilized for clearing enemy cave systems. The deep external grooves were designed to help the iron casing shatter into uniform, highly lethal fragments upon detonation. It utilized a chemical time-delay fuse that gave the Marine roughly 4 to 5 seconds to seek cover after releasing the safety spoon. The lethal radius of the flying shrapnel was roughly 15 yards, making it an incredibly effective tool for destroying fortified pillboxes. Marines frequently bent the safety pins straight so the grenades could be pulled and thrown instantly during sudden, close-range firefights. Next, we examine the terrifying United States Marine M15 white phosphorus grenade. Known casually as Willie Pete, this weapon was heavily utilized to blind enemy positions and clear out deeply entrenched tunnel networks. When detonated, it scattered burning chemical phosphorus that ignited instantly upon contact with oxygen and burned at over 5,000 degrees. The burning phosphorus created a massive, impenetrable cloud of thick white smoke that allowed Marines to maneuver safely across open ground. Tragically, the burning chemical could not be extinguished by water, making it a horrifyingly lethal weapon if it struck human skin. Because Japanese defenders fought to the death in fortified caves, this brutal weapon became a grim necessity for the Marine Corps. Let us continue with the United States Marine M18 colored smoke grenade. Unlike fragmentation grenades, this device was purely designed for visual signaling and battlefield communication, rather than inflicting casualties. It was produced in bright colors like red, yellow, green, and violet, allowing Marines to clearly mark their positions for close air support. In the dense, overlapping canopy of the jungle, pilots could not easily differentiate between friendly Marines and enemy forces. By popping a colored smoke grenade, ground troops could safely guide devastating Corsair bombing runs directly onto Japanese bunker systems. It was a critical piece of survival equipment that prevented countless friendly fire incidents during chaotic, rapidly shifting combat operations. Moving right along, we have the United States Marine M37 Demolition Satchel Charge. Because Japanese forces masterfully constructed heavily reinforced concrete bunkers, standard infantry weapons were often completely useless against them. This canvas bag contained 20 pounds of highly explosive Composition C combined with a specialized pull-string detonator. Assault engineers would bravely sprint directly up to the firing slit of an enemy bunker and hurl this massive explosive charge inside. The resulting detonation was so incredibly powerful that it would instantly collapse the concrete roof and obliterate everyone inside the fortification. Carrying this heavy, highly volatile bag of explosives made the Marine a massive, high-priority target for enemy snipers. Survival, rations and miscellaneous. Transitioning to survival gear, we start with the United States Marine Frogskin Camouflage Rubberized Poncho. The Pacific Theater subjected Marines to torrential, freezing monsoon rains that could last for weeks without stopping. This heavy, rubber-coated canvas poncho was fully waterproof and featured the identical, reversible camouflage pattern as the helmet cover. It included metal snap buttons along the edges, allowing two Marines to snap their ponchos together to form a crude two-man tent. Because it was heavily rubberized, it trapped massive amounts of body heat, making it miserable to wear during combat patrols. However, it was absolutely essential for keeping weapons dry and providing a small barrier between the Marine and the rotting jungle floor. Next on our list is the United States Marine-type creation. Supplying an army across thousands of miles of open ocean was a logistical nightmare, making highly condensed combat meals an absolute necessity. The K-ration was heavily sealed in wax-coated cardboard to protect the food from tropical humidity, insects, and poison gas. It provided 3 incredibly dense meals per day, consisting of canned meat, hard biscuits, instant coffee, and small luxury items like cigarettes. While it kept Marines alive, the constant consumption of these dry, repetitive blocks of food led to severe weight loss and malnutrition. It was a marvel of military logistics, but Marines universally despised the taste and texture of these emergency survival rations. Let us examine a microscopic lifesaver, the United States Marine Atabrine anti-malaria tablets. In the Pacific Theater, microscopic mosquitoes carrying malaria caused significantly more casualties to the American military than actual enemy gunfire. The military mandated that every single Marine consume these small, bitter yellow pills daily to suppress the deadly symptoms of the disease. The medication was notoriously foul-tasting and carried a bizarre side effect of temporarily turning the soldier's skin a noticeable shade of yellow. Despite widespread rumors that the pills caused blindness or infertility, officers strictly enforced their daily consumption at gunpoint if necessary. Without this vital chemical medication, the entire Pacific Island hopping campaign would have collapsed under the weight of disease. Moving right along, we have the United States Marine 2-ounce insect repellent bottle. The jungles of Guadalcanal and Bougainville were completely infested with biting flies, ticks, and disease-carrying mosquitoes that tortured the troops constantly. To combat this, the military issued small clear glass bottles filled with a highly toxic, oily chemical repellent known simply as skunk juice. The liquid smelled absolutely horrific and caused an intense burning sensation when applied directly to the Marine's face and arms. While it successfully kept the insects away for a few hours, the glass bottles frequently shattered inside the Marine's pockets during combat. It was a miserable, burning necessity that provided the only temporary relief from the relentless swarms of tropical insects. Next, we look at the United States Marine Halazoni water purification tablets. Securing safe drinking water was incredibly difficult because local streams were frequently contaminated by rotting vegetation and dead bodies. These tiny chemical tablets were issued in small glass vials and were designed to kill deadly bacteria and prevent widespread dysentery. A Marine would drop 2 tablets into his aluminum canteen, shake it vigorously, and wait 30 agonizing minutes before taking a drink. The tablets gave the water a harsh, overpowering taste of concentrated chlorine bleach, making it incredibly unpleasant to swallow. Despite the terrible taste, purifying scavenged water was the only way to survive the crushing, dehydrating heat of the equator. Let us continue with the United States Marine M1938 lensatic compass. Navigating through the dense, featureless green hell of the jungle was nearly impossible without a highly reliable precision instrument. This compass featured a durable cast aluminum case, a liquid-dampened needle mechanism, and a magnifying lens for highly accurate map reading. The internal dial was heavily painted with radium, allowing it to glow brightly in the absolute darkness of the jungle canopy. Officers and squad leaders guarded these tools with their lives, as getting lost in the jungle often meant death from starvation or ambush. It was typically carried in a specialized canvas pouch, securely fastened to the heavy web belt for instant tactical access. Finally, wrapping up our comprehensive list, we have the United States Marine Identification Tags, universally known as DOB tags. Every single Marine was issued a pair of these stamped metal ovals worn constantly around the neck on a cord or chain. They were deeply stamped with the Marine's name, serial number, blood type, and religious preference to assist combat medics. Marines frequently wrapped the edges of the tags in medical tape to prevent them from tinking loudly during stealthy night patrols. If a Marine made the ultimate sacrifice, one tag remained with the body, while the second was collected for official graves registration. These simple pieces of stamped metal represented the heavy, brutal toll paid by the young men of the United States Marine Corps.